hello to all of my friends in Facebook land. Happy 2022. I'm Susan Bowerman, and I'm so glad that you are here and that you've taken time out of your day to join me. How do you like that new opening segment? That's pretty great. Yeah, we're mixing things up, doing things a little bit different in the new year. So I'm so happy you're here. I've missed you. It's been a while since I've seen you. I'm coming to you as I always do from my kitchen in California, and it has been a while since I've seen you all, but I've been really busy and I've been cooking. And today, as always, I'm going to be sharing another great recipe with you. But before we get to that, just a couple things I always like to remind you. And one is please, please, please let me know where you're watching from, because I always like to give a few shout outs after we watch the recipe video. So that's the first thing that's most important. And then also leave some questions for me in the comments section about anything that you want to ask me. This is your time to ask me any questions about today's recipe, a recipe I made last time or last year. Any burning questions about nutrition that you want to know, or dieting. Maybe things are going well for you in the new year. Maybe you're struggling a little bit. Anything you want to know. We'll probably have some time after today's recipes to answer your questions. So looking forward to that. All right, so the recipe for today is chocolate nut breakfast cookies. Who doesn't want to eat cookies in the morning? I know that's, if my husband had his way, he would start every morning with a cookie. But these are really healthy cookies. And I got this idea from seeing breakfast type cookies. I've seen recipes for them. I've seen them in stores. But I really wanted to make something, of course, that was going to be really healthy. And I know that sometimes in the morning, shakes are great, but sometimes you want something to chew. And so I think this really kind of fills the bill. It really gives you all the nutrients that you need, but it also gives you the opportunity to actually have something to chew. It's also really versatile, meaning that you can change the size so that if you want, if you need more in the morning, you can make the cookies bigger. If you want to make them smaller for snacks, you can do that. There's some ingredients you can swap out as well, which we can talk about. Then there's a method that I'm using in this recipe that's, whether it makes a huge difference in the cookies, I don't know. But if you follow recipes and you see what's going on out, on social media and so forth, there's this technique that people use for chocolate chip cookies called pan banging. And it's just what it sounds like. They take the pan of cookies before it's cooked and they kind of bang it on the countertop and put it back in the oven about halfway through. And it's a way to kind of keep your cookies from getting too puffy and too cakey, and it keeps them a little bit dense. So just for fun, we went ahead and we're going to pan bang our chocolate nut breakfast cookies. All right, so I know you're really excited to see me do that. So let's go ahead. Let's go to the video. Don't go away after the video, though, because afterwards I'm going to come back and I'm going to give you all the nutrition facts for our pan banging chocolate nut breakfast cookies. All right, let's watch the video. Okay, these chocolate nut breakfast cookies are delicious and they're healthy and they're good for you. So I'm giving you an excuse to eat cookies for breakfast, but not just any old cookies. These are really packed with a lot of nutrition. I have seen recipes for breakfast cookies and I've seen breakfast cookies in supermarkets, but I've never been that impressed with the ingredients list. And so I thought I could probably improve on it. And it really wasn't that hard, especially because I have some really great Herbalife nutrition products to work with. So these go together really quickly, and I know you're going to want to make them. So let's start. Super easy. We're going to start with a half a cup of rolled oats, and what I'm going to do is you've seen me do this before. I'm going to grind these up into like a flour, and this is going to help our cookies to hold together. When you do this, just try to grind them up so that they really are fine, almost in, you want flour texture. Okay, that was quick. So, and the reason is that because I'm making these chocolate, I don't want to have big oat flakes necessarily. And also, this is going to help to give the cookies a better chewy texture. So that's going to go in a bowl with my half a cup of oats. And then I'm going to add 4 scoops of our Herbalife Rebuild Strength. And that, of course, is going to be adding all kinds of protein and other good nutrients in there. And then I'm going to add 4 scoops of our Herbalife Rebuild Strength. And that, of course, is going to be adding all kinds of protein and other good nutrients in there. And then I'm going to add 4 scoops of our Herbalife Rebuild Strength. And that, of course, is going to be adding all kinds of protein and other good nutrients in there. And then I'm going to add 4 scoops of our Herbalife Rebuild Strength. And that, of course, is going to be adding all kinds of protein and other good nutrients in there. And then I'm going to add 4 scoops of our Herbalife Rebuild Strength. And that, of course, is going to be adding all kinds of protein and other good nutrients in there. And then I'm going to add 4 scoops of our Herbalife Rebuild Strength. And that, of course, is going to be adding all kinds of protein and other good nutrients in there. And then I'm going to add 4 scoops of our Herbalife Rebuild Strength. And that, of course, is going to be And then to help our cookies hold together, we've got this protein baked goods mix, which has been really a lot of fun for me to experiment with. So I'm going to put in 4 scoops of our protein baked goods mix as well. And then because I wanted these to be extra chocolatey, I'm adding 3 tablespoons of dark cocoa powder. So that's the dry component of our cookies. These are made a little bit different. Normally, oh, that's good. Normally, when you make cookies, you would be creaming butter and sugar and then adding other stuff into it. But because we're not adding any butter because we don't really need it, we're doing this a little bit different. This is almost more like making a muffin where you mix your dry ingredients and then you're wet. Okay, so those are nice and blended up. And now you don't even have to clean the blender, which is what's nice about this because it just makes things go a little bit faster. So we're going to now do the wet part of the cookies. So we're going to take a medium banana, and that's a banana that's about 7 inches long, maybe would be considered a medium banana. That's going in there. As I said, just use the same blender you already did. 2 whole eggs are going in there. Then I'm going to add a 1/4 of a cup of peanut butter. I'm using crunchy, doesn't really matter. You can use crunchy, you can use smooth. You can use other nut butters if you want to. Almond butter would be really good in this. The other one I think that would be good, you know, a while back, you may remember, I made some protein bites and I used tahini, which is sesame butter, which I think would be delicious in this. So that would be something to try. Then when I was creating this recipe, the dough was a little dry, so I needed a little bit more moisture. So I'm adding 2 tablespoons of milk. You can use any kind of milk. You can use dairy milk or soy milk or almond milk, doesn't matter. It's just enough to add a little bit of moisture. A teaspoon of vanilla. And then the last thing I'm going to add is about 1/4 of a cup of dried plums, which came out to be about 7 plums, which is going to goes so well with the chocolate, and it's going to add a lot of natural sweetness. We're going to blend this up. And sometimes when you do this, you have to scrape the sides down because sometimes the peanut butter gets kind of stuck. So we're going to blend this together. And by the way, my oven has been preheating already. I've got it going on at 350 degrees. And I already lined my baking sheet with some parchment paper. You want to do that ahead of time as well. Okay, we're going to give this a quick little blend, and then I think we'll be good. Let's do that one more time. Okay, so that's it. I mean, we're halfway there. So fast. All right, and so then what you're going to want to do is just get all of this, make sure you get everything out of the blender, because you're going to find that this dough is, it's a little bit, it's not dry, but it's, you know, you want to get as much of this moisture out of your blender as you can. So this already, I wish you could smell this, because it's just the combination, you know, that combination of nuts and chocolate is so irresistible. So this is going in here, and I'm going to make this into about 6 cookies, and you have a lot of flexibility on this. I was trying to work this out so that when it was done, that I had the kind of the calorie and protein equivalent of, say, having a shake, so that it could replace a shake. If you wanted to make them a little smaller, obviously you could do that, and they could be then more like a snack. Or you could make them bigger if you just feel like this isn't quite enough, and if your calories allow, you can do that as well. All right, I think I've got pretty much everything there. I'm making kind of a mess, but that's what's fun about cooking. And give my hands a little bit of a rinse here. All right, and so this is just going to get mixed up now into a dough, which only takes a couple minutes, but we're going to stir this really well. Now, when you first do this, you're going to think it's not going to be enough to hold it together, but trust me, it will. You don't want a really, really wet dough, you know, if you think about if you make cookies at home, you know, the batter is pretty dry. And so that's what we're going for. So just, you know, just keep mixing and scraping, and then at some point you're going to want to get your hands in there, because why not? I mean, that's the fun part about making cookies. These also, what's nice about these is that they bake up so fast. These are only going to bake for about 7 minutes. They baked up really, really quickly when I did them. Most cookies, when you make them, take more like 10 to 12, so you get to enjoy them even sooner. All right, so you can see this has come together pretty well. There's a little bit of dry stuff at the bottom, and I'm going to probably get my hands in there now to get it thoroughly mixed, but I think we're just about there. It's very stiff, but that's exactly the texture that you want, because if you, as I said, if you start to feel like, oh, this is, you know, this needs more liquid, then what's going to happen is they're just going to get too runny, and then you're not going to get that nice, dense, kind of chewy cookie texture that we're after. All right, so that's that. And now, in order to shape these cookies, because the dough is a little bit on the sticky side, you are going to need some damp hands. So, not dripping wet, but just damp. And then again, here's my cookie sheet that I've already done. Got that ready. And as I said, I'm going to make about 6 cookies. So the size of these, they're not small though. I mean, remember, this is breakfast. So I'm going to shape this into 6 cookies. These are about, I don't know, maybe a little more than 2 inches across. It's like the size of maybe a baseball, I think. They're pretty good size. But as I said, you can make them any size you want. If you want to just make these into just a regular cookie that you want to enjoy for a treat, you could do that as well. The dough itself is got a really nice texture. It's not sticky. It's just holding together really nicely, and it's going to. They're not going to spread that much as they are, which is the reason that one of the things we're going to have to do is we're going to have to flatten them, because most cookies, when you do them, they just will start to expand. But because this doesn't have a lot of leavening, there's some in our baked goods mix. But I'm going to borrow a little from that one. But what we're going to do is we're just going to flatten them, and then we're going to let them bake that way. All right, so once they're rolled into balls, then again, just with your hands slightly damp, what you're going to do is just press them down, make them flat. They don't have to be perfect. I mean, if you wanted to, you could take a large glass or plate or something and press them. But I think they're fine just being rustic. I'm pressing them out, by the way, to about a 1/4 inch thickness or about a 4-inch diameter. Again, depending on the size of your balls of dough, it's going to vary, but that's about the thickness that you want. So even if you make them smaller or larger, just try to go for this about 1/4 inch thickness so that they'll cook evenly. But we also want them, I wanted them to stay chewy. I didn't want them to get too dry, and I also didn't want them to be cakey. So I found that this was just about exactly the right thickness for that. Okay, so those look pretty good. Now what I'm going to do, these are going to go in the oven for a total of 7 minutes, but I'm going to do something kind of fun, which is I'm going to set my timer here for 2 minutes, and I'm going to tell you why in a second. This is my old-fashioned timer. I'm going to set that. I'm going to put this into my 350 degree oven, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to talk to you and tell you about why I set it for 2 minutes and not for 7. All right, so in those go. All right, so why in the world did I only set it for 2 minutes? I did that because I had seen this trend online where people were taking their cookies out of the oven when they'd only baked for a couple minutes, and they take them out and they kind of bang the whole cookie sheet either down on the countertop, or they'll do it on the baking rack itself inside the oven. And it's a way to kind of help the cookies to spread out a little bit and condense a little bit to help make them more chewy. And I'd seen that technique applied to chocolate chip cookies, and I thought, oh, well, why not, you know? And it's fun anyway, just to take the pan out and just bang it on the counter and put it back in. So that's what we're going to do. After 2 minutes, I'm going to show you. We're going to bang it on the counter. We're going to put it back in for 5. While we're waiting, let's talk for a minute about everything that we've put into our cookies so far, because we've got a lot of nutrition packed in here. We started with a half a cup of rolled oats, right? And that's, of course, a good source of fiber, as you know, because it's whole grain. We've got some iron and we've got some B vitamins in there, which are really important to help your body take the energy that's in the food that you eat and translate that into energy that your body can actually use. Then, of course, we use 4 scoops of our Rebuild Strength, and so that's basically 2 servings of Rebuild Strength. So we added about 48 grams of protein by adding that, which is amazing. Not to mention the really delicious flavor. Then I use 4 scoops of our protein baked goods mix, and that's adding another 30 grams of protein to our recipe. And the protein baked goods mix, again, you know, we've got the protein in there, and then we've also got the ability to be able to, 2 minutes went so quickly, the ability to be able to make these amazing baked goods. All right, I'm going to pull this out. I'm going to show you what we're going to do. Hold on. Don't go away. Okay. So these are just barely cooked, right? You're just going to take this whole thing, and you can do this in the oven if you want to, but I think it's more fun to do on the counter. You're just going to drop it, just like that. And you can do it a couple times if you want to. And it's really just to get some of those air bubbles out so that our cookies are going to stay flat and dense, because that's what we want. All right, back in the oven for 5 minutes. And let me pull out the ones that I made earlier today so you can see what we've got. So as I said, we've got so much nutrition in there. We've got our Rebuild Strength, we have our baked goods mix, we have our cocoa powder, which has a lot of antioxidants in it. We've got a banana, which is a great source of potassium, more protein from our eggs that we added, peanut butter, okay, 1/4 cup of peanut butter adds some healthy fats, adds some more protein, adds some magnesium, which is a mineral a lot of people don't get enough of. And then we also add 7 dried plums, which of course added natural sweetness, as did the banana. But plums are a really good source of iron, and a lot of people don't get enough of that either. So, all right, so these were ones that I made earlier, and I did the exact same thing. I baked them for 2 minutes, I banged them on the counter a couple times, and then I baked them for 5 more minutes. That was it, 7 minutes and done. Take them out, put them right away, put the pan onto a cooling rack or something so that you can stop the cooking. Because remember, what we're after here, we don't want them crispy, we want them kind of chewy. So I wanted you to see, you know, this amazing texture of this cookie, because it really is. It's very, very, it's dense, which is what I wanted, but it's also got a nice chew to it. And I'm going to taste it and tell you that it's almost got the texture of a brownie, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. They're moist, and they're moist because we used the banana and also the dried plums, because the dried fruit tends to keep things really moist. So these are quick, easy, delicious, and you know what I decided to do with mine was to enjoy it with a warm, high-protein iced coffee. So I made my iced coffee, not iced coffee. I made it warm, and I'm going to enjoy this. I might even dunk my cookie in my iced coffee. I'm not really sure, or my warm coffee. I'm not really sure how I'm going to do that. Again, I think this could just be really, really good. Ooh, now how's that? All this nutrition. Oh my gosh. So I've got the combination of the chocolate and the cookie, which is even more amazing. This is going to be the best breakfast ever. You're going to make these at home, I know, because you want to, because you know that you've always wanted to eat something like this in the morning, and now you can do it without guilt. Don't go away, because I'm going to be right back, and I'm going to tell you all the amazing nutrition that we've packed into our pan-banging chocolate nut breakfast cookies. Don't go away. I'll be right back.